Wytrzyja, trafia. Wytrzyja, trafia. 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 Wytrzyja. 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 Wytrzyja, trafia.
I have some troubles with the drone, so I had to fly it home.
No worries, but we go left up the hill and then we do a loop and come back down to the swamp. Now this is the first swamp run of the season, and it's actually following exactly the same kind of predictions. In the beginning, it's a lot of stopping and going. We've got a few young dogs on here, and Steffel, Björn, some of the females, Tipper, Hopper, Nugget. They haven't done any pulling anything through this whole summer, so their muscles are a bit, so let's say, weak and soft. Now, as you saw, it was pretty hard going up in the swamp, lots of stop going, and it's like deep snow training for the dogs. But then we hit this hill. This is Marikovara, and all of a sudden the trail hardens up like you see here. It's quite rocky and bumpy, but the dogs realize that all of a sudden this cart can roll and actually move, and they kind of like joyfully speed up, and they don't really realize that they're going up a hill, because the hill, pulling this cart and me up the hill, is actually easier than pulling it through the swamp. So in a roundabout way, we are now training a few things. This has absolutely no bearing on their condition. You know, they're not going to gain the ability to run for hours and hours and hours from doing this. But it does teach them a few things. It teaches them that they can run up hills fast. It teaches them to put their backs in it, and you know, sometimes you just have to stop, go, stop, go, stop, go your way through a tough patch. And they also learn that there will be an end to that tough patch at the end. The good thing is, even though it's a bit warmer, it's not 20 degrees yet, but it's quite moist. But because we're going through the swamp, you can see how dirty and wet the dogs are. That actually naturally keeps them cool. So we are able to train we can train some power, intensity training, short bursts. We can train, let's say, grit, toughness of mind that they learn to struggle and overcome. We can train running up hills. In this case, going quite fast, because a 12-dog team in a cart and one man is too heavy for the swamp at the moment. But is easy for them to pull up a hill, so they learn to speed up on the uphills. And of course, again, before and after the thing, we have to hook them up, so they practice their routines standing away. Now this morning it was chaotic. They were all barking and shouting and screaming, "Cheat!" But this will get better, and they will learn slowly. Now they have to wait and be quiet, and it'll become again part of the routine. Oh, fallen tree. Now the uphill, now we are coming to a place we call Snake Hill, because it's a bit windy going down. They're warming up now. Now it's getting a bit warm for them. Yip, yip, hitch. But again, we hit some wet spots, especially with the amount of rain we've had last week. So the swamps are quite wet. The trail is soft and boggy. Hitch up. So we will get the chance to cool off soon again. The total distance is maybe only 4 kilometers, but we tick a lot of boxes, of things that we can achieve in this little 4-kilometer run. And it's so early in the season that really, 4 kilometers is already good enough. And the fact that it's a very tough 4 kilometers counts as well. So with any dog team, wherever you live, when you are thinking about training your dog team, you're limited by your infrastructure and your time and your season and your things. So you've got to find the best way to utilize the infrastructure that we have. So in this case, we have the swamp on our own private land close by. We have this hill, we have these carts. Pardon, repeat?
Is it beautiful out there?
It's wet and muddy and there's a lot of cloudberries, and we saw Auntie picking berries. Oh yes, and there might be a mosquito or two, but I think you noticed. Okay, I think we have some pretty dirty, happy dogs though. The infrastructure that you have, and what you can do. In Lieksa, where we used to live far away in the middle of nowhere, and we had lots of remote forest roads. And there we were able to, with lots of little ponds and things, and there we were able to use the roads in such a way that the dogs pulled one direction, and then we would free run them back home after playing in a pond, which was great there, but doesn't work here. Because we're a bit more hemmed in by private land and road, there's not that many roads, we decided to invest in this dog walker. But with our own private land here, the swamp just gives us this opportunity to do this nice mucking about in wet things. It's not the same as running through a river. Running through a river is of course also very good, specifically that you're more likely to see and encounter rivers that you have to fjord in wintertime than muddy, swampy bogs. Because muddy, swampy bogs should hopefully be frozen in winter. But as I said, this heavy pulling through the wet and the mud, it builds grit. You can almost imagine it, Navy SEAL or SAS Commando cadets having to do this, something similar to build up team spirit and power. Another thing that I've noticed is, because they are running on a soft surface, what makes it extra hard is that they have no real purchase. They cannot put their muscles or their power from their feet down. It builds a whole different set of muscles in the dogs. And it encourages them to use some different muscles than we would normally do when in the dog walker, which is of course pretty monotonous movement. So in the big picture of things, this is just activating different sets of muscles. Different mental skills are acquired. And
okay, seems like it's a controller problem.
okay, I just come to the junction and then we are on that straight spot where you can take the pictures, okay? Klaar, up. Ah. Almost lost my boot. It's actually pretty amazing how quickly the swamp recovers. You can see that we've been here last year, that's pretty okay, but last year it was a muddy, wide track. This is what we're looking for, a nice steady work. They're walking and pulling, they're not even running and pulling in this situation, but that is all we can hope for. Now, by the end of last season, the track was literally twice as wide as this. It was somewhere over there. If we would not use the swamp for 2 years, it would be back in its, well, not pristine, but in its original condition. Ha! Ha! Hit show! Hop! Hit show. Hit show. Ooh, and again. Clap. Hop. Hop. Okay. Now we have the photo shoot moment. So there's a fancy phase 1 camera with a Schneider lens from Studio Varastomo Studio, something like this, that we have for the weekend, or for the week. Hop, hop. Hit show. Hit show. Hit show. Hit show, yeah. Braaf, ja. Braaf, ja. Goed zo. Goed zo. Hup. Ho, ho, ho. Nyala has one problem. She likes to turn around. She's a good lead dog. She knows the commands. She's super fast, but she dislikes me too much and wants to come back and say hello. Goed zo, dame. Oh ja. Ja, dat was hard werken, hè. Dat was hard werken. Goed zo, jongens. Goed zo. Goed zo. Ja. Ja. Hallo. Goed zo, krakker. Goed zo, dames. Goed zo, Nyala. Goed zo. Goed zo, Jin. Good show. Good show. So that was our training run. It looks pretty happy. The dogs are not too hot. Of course they are warm. There's no way around that, but this is not too hot. This is pretty okay. They are, however, pretty dirty.